Welcome to a new episode of the Real Estate Podcast with me, Nico James-Bock, a broker with Royal LePage Signature in downtown Toronto. Today's guest is Sean Humphries. I had Sean on this podcast earlier last year talking about mortgage. Sean is the mortgage expert advising us at Royal LePage and elsewhere on mortgages. So welcome, Sean.
Thanks for having me, Nico. Glad to be back.
Yes, a lot has happened since the start of the year, most recently with the BoC's announcement. So we'll get right into their announcement. I'm just going to share my screen. This is available on YouTube for those with the benefit of video. Okay, so BoC's interest rate announcement occurred on January the 25th. All right, so the announcement was 25 basis point increase to the policy interest rate. Okay, the bank continues its quantitative tightening agenda into 2023 with the bank rate at 4.75% and the deposit rate closely behind at 4.5%. Most interesting was their last statement on their website, and I'll read it now. With persistent excess demand putting continued upward pressure on many prices, Governing Council decided to increase the policy interest rate by a further 25 basis points. The bank's ongoing program of quantitative tightening is complementing the restrictive stance of the policy rate. If economic developments evolve broadly in line with the MPR outlook, Governing Council expects to hold the policy rate at its current level while it assesses the impact of the cumulative interest rate increase. Governing Council is prepared to increase the policy rate further if needed to return inflation to the 2% target and remains resolute in its commitment to restoring price stability for Canadians. Interesting statement. So my questions for you, Sean, are number one, what are your thoughts on the BoC's interest rate schedule starting in March 2022 of last year and ending with its most recent interest rate announcement, January 25th, 2023, based on their final statement?
Yeah, I think it's a chunky statement. They say a lot there where they, hey, we feel like we're done. It doesn't say that they've declared victory but it does feel like they're planning the parade route and they're polishing up the trophy a little bit. At the last meeting in December, they had said, we feel like we're there. We feel like we've done the work to get it back in, get inflation under control, but we still are leaving the door open for a further interest rate increase. So what they said there is that the large interest rate increases were done back in December, and anything going forward would be more of a nudge or a massaging of the rate up probably 0.25%. And a lot of people at that time were saying, hey, we're probably not going to have any of these big 50 basis points or 75 basis points increases, but we can expect one in January of 0.25% and probably again in March. Now, I think that second increase of 0.25% has fallen off a little bit with some of the inflation numbers coming back under control. We're down to 6.3% year over year, but it's much slower month to month. The last 3 months, we've had much slower inflation month to month. So it's not like we're increasing rapidly. And a lot of the reports that we're getting now is that consumer spending is slowing. Business outlook is slower than what it was last year. And that's really what the goal of the Bank of Canada is trying to do, is let's get everybody's expectations down. We don't want people believing that interest rates will continue to go up and up and up. So from March, a lot of people thought that they missed the boat last January and didn't raise soon enough. A lot of people were calling for the Bank of Canada to increase last January, and they kind of shocked the world or the Canadian market by not increasing.
By not increasing it at all. Yeah.
And then we had a lot, I think their mindset was that we've got to catch up. We've got to make some big moves here. And I think that really peaked with the 1% increase in July.
In July, yeah.
And I was at the dentist when I was watching that. I had sitting up and looking at the TV, them cleaning my teeth. I'm like, I couldn't believe they raised a 1%. And then the following meeting, it's again in September, they raised 0.75%. So we've had the steepest increase of interest rates in the history of the Bank of Canada. And
Correct.
so for them to now say, hey, we've had 8 meetings in a row of increasing policy rate, we're now prepared to let's see what happens, and let's have these interest rate hikes work their way through the economy. So I think that they've done the heavy lifting. I think it was uncomfortable and painful for a lot of people, but I think it was a necessary group of steps that they had to make over that period of time. The most shocking, obviously, being the July one. I jumped out of my seat when I saw
I can
that
imagine.
one.
Yeah. With this most recent announcement, do you feel that perhaps the BoC feels that the tightening measures are working, and interest rates, the inflation rate is going in the direction in which they want it to go?
Yeah, I think they feel like the heavy lifting is over. They're willing to, to use a basketball analogy, they're putting all their stars on the bench and they're just letting the scrubs play it out, but they're willing to bring some more guys. They're willing to put more interest rate hikes back in if they feel like that's going to be necessary. If they feel like, hey, inflation's not cooling as much as we had predicted, and they said it in that statement, if things go as the monetary policy report indicates or what we feel, then we feel like we've done enough. But hey, we're willing to do more if necessary.
So, okay, so my take from that and from what you've just said is that perhaps the next announcement, which is taking place on March the 8th, would be no interest rate increase, perhaps, okay? Then in April 12th, which is the one following the interest announcement following March 8th, there may be a small interest rate increase or maybe none. And then moving into the summer, then they may start to relook at the situation and perhaps implement another interest rate increase if they feel that inflation is still too high.
There's an opportunity for them to increase at every meeting if they felt they had to. But I think it'll be a quarter point if they do anything at all. Okay. I think for me, I think it's unlikely that we have another increase in March or April. I think it's certainly possible if inflation hasn't come down this summer that they would do another one.
Right.
But it would be 0.25% at a time.
Okay. Yeah. That's what my feeling is as well. I think we're done with the drastic increases.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2: what should buyers be doing to help qualify for a mortgage moving forward in this new environment?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at interest rates and they go, interest rates are going up, I'm not going to qualify for as much. But actually, over the last couple of months and even more acutely the last couple of weeks, we've seen fixed interest rates start to drop. Specifically, the 5-year fixed, the 3-year fixed rates are all the rage right now. And those are really starting to come down. So even though the Bank of Canada is increasing interest rates, fixed rates are coming down. And as people qualify for those 3-year or 5-year fixed rates, they probably qualify for more than what they're thinking, or even what they did 2 or 3 months ago, when maybe the variable rate wasn't as high, but all our fixed rates were pretty high.
Correct.
So I think we're in a pretty good spot right now for people starting to qualify again. Prices are down and interest rates have come down on fixed rates. Just to jump into your next question there, fixed or variable.
Yes.
Hard to recommend the variable rate right now, just as they are so much higher than what our fixed rates are. Any of your fixed rates are going to be in the, high 5%, or sorry, your variables would be in the high 5%, if not 6.5%. Like they're very, very high right now versus your 5-year fixed rates, which are under 5%, or your 3-year fixed rates, which are under 5% as well. So looking at some of those options, I'm nudging people towards the 3-year fixed rate. It's less of a commitment to jump into than a 5-year fixed, where the penalty is much higher. The interest rate be in this elevated interest rate for 5 years versus being in for 3, the penalty is cheaper to get out of it. So if interest rates really drop, you can get out of a 3-year fixed a lot easier than you could get out of a 5-year fixed.
Interesting.
So, shying away from the variables, I haven't had a lot of people talk to me about variables and fixed rates. You're going to qualify for more with the 5-year fixed rate because the rate is lower than the 3-year.
Okay.
But you're then obligated to be in a 5-year fixed rate which seems high compared to what it's been the last, over the last 10 years.
Right. Okay. Plus, obviously, with the mortgage stress test, they have to add 2 percentage points to that.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, right? Because if the 5-year fixed is lower, adding 2% to that rate means that you'll qualify for slightly more than you would with a 3-year fixed rate. Now, it's not going to be a huge difference.
Oh, yeah, but the penalty to get out of that is higher.
Exactly.
As well.
You're kind of locked in.
Balances out.
Somebody said to me one time, like, getting into a 5-year fixed rate, especially with the banks, it's not so bad at some of our other mortgage finance companies, but just imagine a big heavy door slamming behind you. Like it's expensive to get out of that.
Yes, I agree. It's what I'm sort of counseling my clients. I'm obviously encouraging them to speak with you or like a mortgage broker, at least with somebody at the bank, and sort of steering them towards a less risky sort of proposal. So, which would be like the 3-year fixed, and stay away from right now the variable rates because they're so high.
Yeah. A lot of people are in variable rates. They've taken variable rates when they were super low. And so, I am expecting that our fixed rates will come down a little bit over the next few weeks, if not a couple of months. So, maybe for anybody that's in a variable right now, just keep an eye on fixed rates, talk to your mortgage provider about where that's at and what it would take to maybe get into some of these shorter term rates for the duration of the mortgage versus paying a higher variable rate, because we're really not expecting variable rates to come down significantly this year. Maybe next year it comes down a little bit.
I see.
But if the economy is going along pretty well, I don't see the urgency of the Bank of Canada having to decrease rates if inflation's in line, the economy is doing well, and higher interest rates just puts the bank and the economy in general into a better position.
Okay. So you're not seeing any rates come down this year, and if they do, it'll be towards the end of the year.
It'd be December at the earliest. Maybe we get a Christmas miracle rate decrease, but I don't see it happening this year. I think in 2024, I think the crystal ball is a little foggy with rate decreases. I don't see.
I know, like with anything else.
Exactly. Exactly.
Using a crystal ball is usually not the best way to predict what's going to happen. But yes, I agree. It's probably wise to sort of be more conservative in the prediction and say that rates will probably hold firm throughout 2023, and then at the earliest, perhaps December or 2023 or January 2024, then we may be able to expect rates to start coming down.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because the Bank of Canada is predicting that we'll be at 3% inflation by the end of 2023, and then 2% inflation into 2024. And that feels very,
and that's their target rate.
That's their target. They're expecting that a lot is going to happen over the next couple of months. Yeah. But if that feels fast, and good on them. I think they've got to make that indication that, hey, we believe what we're doing is working, and that gives confidence in what the bank is doing and their policy rates. But I think it's just going to take a little bit longer, and they'll talk their way around that when it happens.
Okay, good. I think that's a good way to end the podcast on that note. I think it gives buyers a little bit of sort of encouragement in that they should hold firm, continue, good credit, steady employment, but to actually get qualified before making any kind of purchase or move.
Right.
So yeah, and we are in the environment that we're in, and it's going to probably last throughout 2023. So we have to accept it. That's simple, and deal with it and act
Absolutely.
accordingly.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
for
you, Nico.
participating. It was very informative. It's always good to see you and hear your insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Ciao.